Hello, everybody, and this is Gary Maloney for your Monday night edition of Sacktown Slam. And this is the night after SummerSlam for Monday Night Raw. They were at the Barclays Center tonight, and the crowd was definitely rowdy, so they were definitely looking forward to something. And they got something, I will say that much, but it wasn't until later on in the show. However, I would say this was a very, very promo-heavy show. And, obviously these night afters are very much a crapshoot. I mean, you're either going to get a great show or you're going to get a shit show. So it's very much roll of the dice with some of these. It started out with Brock Lesnar coming out, along with, "My name is Paul Heyman, right? With the reigning, defending, right? Universal Champion, Brock Lesnar." Freaking, for the 50 millionth time, by the way, it's just like, we know. He did make mention to the fact that he pinned Roman Reigns last night in order to win the title. That was kind of a big thing because very few people have done that, so he's on a short list of that. He's on a short list for guys that have pinned Cena clean. He's on a lot of short lists. So, I mean, the only thing I think he has yet to do in WWE is the U.S. title and I think the tag titles. I think he's mainly been a main event player thus far in WWE throughout his entire tenure. Honestly, though, this was somewhat more of the same up until and this is from the Bleacher Report. Strowman and Lesnar had a stand down before the monster among men grabs him by the throat, and then Lesnar broke free. He did bounce off the ropes really quick, and then got leveled by a big boot from Strowman. And Braun picks him up and hits 2 power slams before holding up the Universal title and, just acting triumphantly. He dropped the belt next to Brock before leaving. And later on in the show, we find out that at No Mercy, I think it's in 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to have Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar, which more than likely was the match that was supposed to happen at Great Balls of Fire. This is a guess. This is a thumbs up for me because, yay, Brock Lesnar's not going to wait 4 months to defend the title. Yay. So that's a yay. That's a thumbs up right there, almost for the whole freaking show. Just knowing that. But, this was the right move. I think a lot of people were upset that he won. I think if you are going to sit there and, have a title like the Universal title, you can't just have it be in, purgatory for 4 months before defending it again. You have to defend your title. That is a big freaking deal. Defend your title. That's what you are there to do if you have a title. Checks and championships, folks. Checks and championships. Anyway, after that, we had another interesting segment with Enzo and Big Cass. And this ended up going into a street fight. Now, I don't know if this was kayfabe. I don't know if this actually happened, and that's why they called off the match. But excuse me, Big Cass had a really awkward fall during this match before it had even gotten started. And it looked like he tweaked his knee or something. Because Enzo kind of rolled down the ropes and Big Cass like rolled over and then he came onto the ground. And I don't know. Because when they replayed it and showed it, it didn't look to me like he tweaked his knee, but I'm not a medical consultant. And they said that Big Cass cannot medically continue, so the winner is Enzo Amore. I mean, weak, but I don't know the circumstances behind all of this. So gotta be honest with you, this is a very when I have more information about this, I will give you more information about this, but this looked like it was supposed to go longer than it was, so maybe he did really injure himself. So that was what it was. So afterwards, after that match, we had Emma was backstage and she was talking some real crap about Nia Jax. Like saying, oh, well, if I'd have had your thing, I could have gone through blah, 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 and Nia Jax, and I could have been the one wearing the women's championship right now. But instead, because I didn't get I didn't get Sasha Banks and Nia Jax and people, Emma just being a jerk, and then she just starts talking crap about Nia Jax, like, oh, Nia Jax is, and Nia Jax just talked a lot of crap. And, I'll be honest with you. She did not last, I think, more than 5 minutes in that ring with Nia Jax. And Nia Jax didn't even do her finisher to her. She just did a Samoan drop. 1, 2, 3. That's it. So, I mean, Emma. The thing about Emma is that Emma needs a push. Emma and Dana Brooke need a push. They need to stop putting them in segments together, have a feud against each other, which would therein bolster both of their, stock in WWE, but instead you keep jobbing them out. If you're going to have a successful women's division, you can't job out every woman in your division other than 2 or 3 people. My other beef here is that Nia Jax has been one of the most dominant women for the last 4 or 5 months, yet she hasn't gotten a title shot. I'm kind of a head scratcher. And next week, there's supposed to be a title shot the rematch between Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks, which I'm predicting this is going to be some kind of fuck finish, because I don't think they would give us a title match like that just for no apparent reason. It'll be some kind of 10 count. And then they'll have some sort of no DQ, no count out, whatever, falls count anywhere at No Mercy. Because when I was watching SummerSlam, the person doing the No Mercy commercial was Alexa Bliss. So this makes no sense to have her as your No Mercy, spokesperson for your commercial, if you're not going to have her in some sort of a title capacity. So, I mean, we'll keep our eyes on that one, but it would appear to me that, I don't think the match next week is going to have a clean finish. And as we know, Kurt Angle has that tendency to step in and be like, now you're going to face each other in this match. Which, thinking about this just unilaterally, Vince and Kevin Dunn, they really, either they are planning to flop that title back on Alexa Bliss because they don't want it on, and because they don't want it on Sasha Banks, or they're just, I don't know what exactly their plan is. I don't have any beef with either of those women because they're both great promo people. They're both decent wrestlers. I think that Sasha Banks has worked very hard to not be the botch queen that she was back about 4 or 5 months ago. I think especially last year. Oh my gosh. Freaking, if you look back at Hell in the Cell from last year and you look at SummerSlam from this year, I'll be honest with you, I didn't care for this year's SummerSlam at all, but she herself in her match against Alexa Bliss did quite well when it came to beating the snot out of people. So it was, we will see what happens next week. So after that, we had, of course, after that, we had Elias come out there, and oh boy, he wanted to sing yet another song about Brooklyn. And, and then he's like, but I have a song for my opponent tonight, R-Truth. And, the fans, I'm going to be honest with you, the fans, they started clapping along with Elias Sampson during the song. And Elias stopped playing and told them, please stop clapping until I am finished. He's got the douchiest douchebag freaking heel kind of thing going on. And this is not, I hate you, I don't want you here kind of heat. This is, you're a good heel and you make people hate you kind of heat. And, and the difference between the two is that if you look at someone like Jinder Mahal or Roman Reigns, people don't like them because they're forced down our throats. It's the same thing with John Cena. But guys like Elias Sampson, they built themselves up from nothing. Nothing. And people didn't think that they would succeed. Yet, here they are. And people get so hyped when Elias Sampson, when the lights go out, and Elias Sampson sitting in the middle of the ring with his guitar. You notice he hasn't hit anybody over the head with his guitar. I think he might have gotten in a little trouble for that one. But, nobody said anything about it. But the fact of the matter is that it is definitely going to be an intriguing. It was very intriguing. Anyway, the match between him and R-Truth really didn't last that long. He hit his swinging neck breaker. Elias did hit that swinging neck breaker on him. And which they're calling drift away, which, why are you calling his finisher drift away when he used to be called the Drifter, and you're like, it seemed to me like they were trying to get rid of that persona, but now they're trying to bring it back, and the whole drift away thing was something fans would say because they liked him as a heel, but they wanted him to go away. He was like that poor country bumpkin singer, which is basically his persona. But now they're starting to integrate different parts of one persona into different parts of another persona and see if they can make a star. And so far it's working. So good luck to Elias. I mean, he's beaten up guys like Finn Balor, which is a big deal. He's beaten up R-Truth, which isn't that big of a deal at all because R-Truth get beaten up by everybody. And I mean, other than that, he really hasn't done too much. So I think it's time for him to be put up against someone else in his, I think with the way Raw's roster is, maybe putting him up against a Heath Slater. That would be an interesting matchup. Anyway, after that, you had Kurt Angle talks about NXT, you had Kurt Angle come out and say that, I was in NXT, blah, 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 but I have a special guest for tonight. And I swear I thought it was going to be Bobby Roode. But who is it? No, it's John Cena. John Cena. More John Cena. Forgive me if I'm going to throw up. But quite frankly, John Cena, I mean, again, stop shoving John Cena down our throats. And then Roman Reigns comes out. As I said just a second ago, Roman Reigns gets shoved down our throats. Then all of a sudden, they're acting all tough guy. And then John Cena's all, the thing is, I didn't call you out here to talk. And then he just drops the mic. And they're looking like they're about to go at it. And then all of a sudden, you hear the Miz's music go off. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Miz comes out, and he's like, you think I'm going to let you two have a moment while I sit there in the back? You two have had more moments and this and that and the other thing. And not that I didn't agree with The Miz, because he's absolutely right. Those two have probably had more moments than the combination of the mid-card probably put together in the last 15 years. So, Miz was absolutely right. I mean, obviously, this was more corporate initiative putting Miz in the middle of this because Miz has history with Cena, and we know that. So it was a good pick to be the heel here. What I didn't expect was hearing Joe's music go off. And when Joe came out, the whole freaking crowd just went apeshit. It was like, Joe, 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 Joe. Every time, as the crowd usually does when Samoa Joe comes out. Samoa Joe is just, he's got that mystique. He's got that just, every time Joe enters an arena, it gets people hyped up. And a lot of people, and it just became, a classic Miz tirade. And then, I'll be honest, after Joe runs down and runs down Reigns, he took a cheap shot at Cena. Reigns fought off the Miz Taraj. Joe put Cena in the Coquina clutch. Reigns hits a Superman punch to break up the hold, which means we'll likely see Cena and Reigns face Miz and Joe. And that is exactly what happened. I mean, Miz, in my opinion, has such a classic, just, as I just said, he can give a promo. Miz is the guy that I think he does wrestle a safe style. And it's a boring style. It really doesn't it doesn't look fancy, but his promo work is second to none. I like him, but do I think he's an A-lister? No. He's like a B-plus player. Haha. But, yeah. Definitely not on the A-list level, in my opinion. Then you had the cruiserweights. And I'm not even going to waste my time on this match because, A, they sat there and stuck a freaking commercial break in the middle of it, which was lame. And, you know, it was Metallic, Swan, Alexander, and Mustafa Ali versus Drew Gulak, Tony Nese, and Arya Daivari and Noam Dar. And, you know, there were a lot of fancy moves and things like that. But the way that the match essentially ended was that Metallic hit a moonsault from the top rope to the floor, while Alexander hits Nese with a lumbar check, and that's how they won. This would have been more interesting if there had been less people involved. This was WWE using its corporate initiative to shove as many cruiserweights into one match as possible to, you know, make it possible. I don't like this tactic. I am not a fan of this tactic, and I wish they would stop doing it, but they continue to do it because that's just how it works. So if they had given me a one-on-one through this whole time instead of having to focus on 8 people, I think I would have enjoyed it more. So that being said, they found where Grand Metalik was. What do you know? Then you had Titus Worldwide. You know, Neville is giving an interview backstage about retaining his title. And then Titus and Tozawa walk up and, you know, sitting there. They called Neville a troll. And then they were like, "We have one word for you. Rematch." So there's going to be a cruiserweight title match on 205 Live, which is probably the best they can give right now. I swear, here's the thing. I don't want rubber matches. I hate rubber matches. I hate you win, and you win, and you win, and you win, and it's just back and forth. I hate that. They're doing the same thing with the U.S. title right now. I want Tozawa to win, but if Tozawa wins, this thing between Neville and Tozawa should be over. So, and Neville should just have to move on. And I'm sorry, but, you know, once you win a title, you get one rematch, and then it's back of the line for you. If they're giving him a second rematch, if he wins, it should be back of the line for Neville. Period. I'm just so sick and tired of seeing Neville with a title for 8 months plus minus 1 week where he didn't have the title because Tozawa had already won it. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow night. Obviously, I'll watch 205 live. I may fast forward through it and tell you what happens on, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday. We'll see what happens with my taping schedule. But yeah, that's what happened there. Then you had another interesting thing. You had an interesting little segment where Dean and Seth came out, and they're out there to celebrate, and, that they're the new tag team champs, and, that they never thought that they'd get back together, and that Seth said he never thought he'd be fighting alongside Dean again. The typical stuff that people say when they're in that face apologetic state. Then suddenly, you got people who we did not expect to come out, and that would be the Hardy Boys. Hardy Boys come out there, and the first thing you hear out of the Hardys' mouth was... And I have to be honest with you, the first thing you hear out of the Hardys' mouth was, yes. And it just was very interesting. So, I mean, it looks as though they are getting ready to sort of getting ready to go broken. Jeff says they're not here to spoil the fun and just want to congratulate Ambrose and Rollins. Both Matt and Jeff are using more broken mannerisms than usual. It says right here on this Bleacher Report review. And Matt says they want to challenge them to a match. And Rollins said that he grew up idolizing the Hardys, and they agree. And then a ref just suddenly runs out from nowhere and rings the bell. I'm going to say this. This was quite possibly the match of the night right here. I mean, the Hardys, even at their age right now, can go with the best of them. I really feel like this so the bell rang as soon as they come back from the commercial break. Matt and Dean lock up. They trade wrist locks and counters. Jeff gets the tag, and they hit a classic Hardy Boys double team combo for a 2 count. Some people in the crowd are looking at something happening somewhere else as Rollins comes in and takes control. Cesaro and Sheamus are shown watching backstage. Matt tags back in, and they hit another double team move for a near fall. Seth is able to tag Ambrose, and then they hit their own combination for a 2 count. This was a lot of combo moves. So all 4 men end up in the ring together, and a brawl breaks out. And they were just punching the crap out of each other at one point. So that definitely old school tag team kind of thing. The Hardys send the Rollins and Ambrose out of the ring. as they head towards another break. And then Matt and Dean both tag in. When we come back from commercial, the Lunatic Fringe gets up and gets the upper hand with a sequence of strikes. Matt avoids a slingshot splash over the top rope and sends Rollins out of the ring, and then sets them up so that they can hit Poetry in Motion from inside the ring out to the floor. And the way this was set up was so awesome. I mean, it's the typical way it would have been set up, but Jeff just looked like he almost jumped on Matt's back and just flung himself out of the ring. It's like, holy shit. That was a very, very powerful Poetry in Motion. I don't know who took more damage on that, Seth and Dean or Matt's back. So, or Jeff, considering the landing didn't look so great. But, they kept Jeff isolated for a few minutes while putting him through various holds. Jeff kept trying to break away, but Rollins and Ambrose keep finding ways to cut him off. Jeff hit Whisper in the Wind to both men out of desperation and tags in his brother. Matt runs Ambrose out of the ring before slamming the Kingslayer's head into all three turnbuckles. Delete, 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 that crap. And then Matt doesn't see the tag to Ambrose, and they hit an elevated sling blade, which is such an awesome looking tag move. Like, holy shit. I don't know how they thought of this. They must have been at the Performance Center, but what a great looking tag move. Jeff saves the match by breaking up the pin. The crowd is chanting, "This is awesome," which it quite was at that point. As all four men brawl in the ring, this time it's Seth and Dean's turn to eject their opponents and take them out at ringside with twin suicide dives. Mamma mia! Es suicidio! There was a lot of that in this match, I'll tell you that much. Matt counters Dirty Deeds and drops Ambrose with a side effect, which, Ambrose landed very hard on that side effect. And then for a near fall, he climbs to the top turnbuckle, but the Lunatic Fringe trips him. Jeff makes a tag and takes out Rollins before attempting a Swanton bomb. Ambrose gets his knees up to block. Seth tags in, and they hit Jeff with their finisher to get the win. They hit Jeff with each of their finishers. In other words, that spinning knee hit that Seth Rollins has, he got hit with that, and then he was all dizzy, and then Dean Ambrose took that and then did Dirty Deeds, and then that was 1, 2, 3. And that was the end of that match. I mean, that was very, very, very interesting. So I loved the match. I think the match was probably the best of the night, because none of the other matches went the way I wanted them to, or made any kind of logical booking sense. So, anyway, then you had Sasha Banks come out and Alexa Bliss, and they were trading insults, essentially, and they both made one good point about each other that I think does need to come to light, given that there's a women's title match next week. Number one, Sasha Banks has never been able to retain a title during a rematch, and that is the truth. as well as Alexa Bliss has never been able to retain a title without a 10 count or a DQ, which is also true. So, although that is somewhat untrue when you look at Bayley and Extreme Rules, but beyond that, that is true. So it is very, much the case. I don't think there's any real heat here. I think they were just told to say what they were supposed to say. It's funny that WWE would let them, dip in, put their chicken nuggets in that dip, because that is some salty dip right there. I'll be honest. They were both being a little salty. I don't know if Sasha didn't want to do this sort of a promo and get dissed on television, but Alexa Bliss just seems like the kind of woman that just doesn't give a shit. So, we'll see where that goes. We'll find. Then you had Jason Jordan. Earlier in the night, Jason Jordan asked his dad, Kurt Angle, for a match that night. And he's all, well, The Miz is already in a match tonight. Well, yeah, they know. But he said he wanted competition anyway. So he asked for Finn Balor. Now, the match between him and Finn. Some people are going to disagree with me here because obviously Finn Balor is way up here and Jordan right now is kind of down here. But I feel like do not railroad Jason Jordan. Do not do it. Because if you railroad Jason Jordan, then this whole Kurt Angle thing is a pointless waste of time. And you're just wasting everyone's time on it. Don't do it. Because if you do it, then you're just making a stupid plot line that makes no sense. It also, in my opinion, I think in the end, Finn Balor won by via coup de grace on Jason Jordan for a 3 count. But Jason Jordan on Finn Balor had, majority-wise, I'd say was just overpowering Finn Balor. My goodness. Like, every time Finn Balor would be looking for some kind of traction in the match, Jason Jordan would just pick him up and just slam the shit out of him. Honestly, it was definitely a clash of different styles, so it was interesting to see. But I felt like Jason Jordan got the better of Finn Balor, and in that match, it didn't make a lot of sense for Jason Jordan to just felt like Jordan sort of rolled over for Balor. So, maybe not now, but in this sense, it makes no sense because Finn could have easily taken the 3 count and had it not affect his situation or his reputation. Easily. But this sets Jordan back a little bit because Jordan lost at SummerSlam. He lost the Monday night after SummerSlam. If you have him lose another match, I don't think he's getting the Intercontinental title. I think the company will have, at that point, lost faith in him and in the storyline. So it's really prudent that Jordan get that next win. Even if it's next Monday, you have to do. If this whole thing with Kurt Angle is going to be a successful storyline and not a failed storyline, then he needs to get some traction. Finn should have lost tonight, not Jordan. And I don't care what anyone thinks. You can call me a smark like some of you other idiots on the internet are doing. But the fact of the matter is that in reality, you need to allow other people to build. When you're a superstar, you can take a loss. When you're not a superstar, you need the wins. That is the way it works. End of fucking discussion when it comes to wrestling. Anyway, Finn Balor won, obviously. Jason Jordan even tried to give him a shake his hand, and Finn Balor was kind of a dick about it. So I wonder if this is part of a heel turn for Finn Balor too, but it didn't feel that way. Now, then you had Roman Reigns and John Cena versus Samoa Joe and The Miz. Okay. So, this was an interesting one. That's for sure. Okay. It started with Cena throws Miz around the ring until he tags in Joe. They get distracted by a beach ball in the crowd, which and that's another thing. And I want to talk about this a little bit. This is the third time now that I've seen this happen on live television. I don't know why fans are going to these shows and doing this beach ball mania crap. Listen, if you're going to the shows to watch the wrestling, watch the wrestling. If you're going to the shows to get drunk and have a good time, get drunk and have a good time and watch the wrestling. Don't sit there and be a distraction to the wrestlers and the fans and all of a sudden make what you're doing more interesting and important than what's going on in the ring. Because if you're doing that, you're going to end up having what Cesaro did happen again, which they tried to pull this crap yesterday. Cesaro took the beach ball, punched it, and popped it, and then threw it onto the ring. So, yeah. I think the wrestlers are a little tired of that garbage. I think that, they are there to entertain the fans, and I think it's an insult to the wrestlers with having the beach balls getting thrown around. Obviously, this is part of that hijack Raw scenario, but and fans hijacking shows when they think certain things suck. But this was not a match that sucked. So, anyway, Joe took Cena down. Miz tags back in now that Cena is at a disadvantage. The crowd chants for a beach ball as Miz continues taking it to Cena with punches and kicks. He yells at the crowd for disrespecting him. Miz, I give credit to the Miz for using that stupid beach ball thing to his advantage. Because that was a very intelligent thing to do. He starts yelling at the crowd, you should be paying attention to me. Why aren't you paying attention to me? This is my moment. And good for him. Cena takes a moment to play to the crowd, so Miz makes him pay with a DDT, which, wow. If you saw that DDT, I guarantee that thing looked brutal. But anyway, for a quick 2 count, Samoa Joe tags back in so that he can keep the pressure on Cena. Cena avoids Miz's corner clothesline and tags in Reigns. Joe is back in, and the two Samoan warriors clash. Roman gets the better of Joe and punishes him with a series of corner clotheslines and a running boot to the face. The Destroyer hits a Uranagi out of nowhere to get a 2 count. Bo Dallas takes out Reigns while the ref has his back turned because the Miz Taraj has to be the Miz Taraj. Miz hits the yes kicks, but just like always, he misses the last one and Reigns picks him up for a one-armed powerbomb. Miz reaches Joe before Roman can get to Cena. Joe and Miz continue to keep Reigns away from his partner, and we are a few minutes past the end time for the show at this point. Roman is tossed over the top rope and manages to take out Dallas and Axel. Cena gets the hot tag and runs over Miz like a monster truck crashing a Ford Taurus. And I'll be honest to you, Cena just, oh my goodness, Cena just destroyed the Miz. He flipped in the air when he got clotheslined, like kapow. And when they say a monster truck running over a Ford Taurus, and I'll give credit to the Bleacher Report for putting it that way, wowie. That is a very, very crazy way of describing it. But yeah, Cena definitely just destroyed Mr. Toothpick Miz there. Reigns accidentally hits Cena with a Superman punch when trying to take out Joe. They take their fight outside the ring while the Miz and Cena was on the ground. Joe and Reigns were fighting outside of the ring along with the rest of the Miz Taraj, and then Miz is kind of coming to, and then Miz sees Cena and he's like, oh my gosh, Cena's on the ground. And he's like, I'm gonna get ya. I'm gonna get ya. Skull crushing finale. Unfortunately, he signals for a skull crushing finale, but Cena turns it into an AA for the win. Then, after this was all over with, Cena is still holding his jaw while his music plays. He and Reigns stare at each other for a moment, but then Cena starts celebrating like he usually does after a win. The show ends with the two exchanging words that we cannot hear. So, it's interesting. I'm not entirely sure if there is going to be a future match between those two. I'm sure there is, because that's a thing. If there is, I am sure they're going to wait for WrestleMania, or they may do it at Survivor Series. Who knows? But it's looking like those two are headed on a collision with each other. So I wouldn't doubt if that is in the plans. Overall, I felt like this was a bit promo heavy for a Raw after a pay-per-view. I would say that a good hour and a half of this was promos. So, promos or commercials. And I don't know why they did the Cruiserweight title match on 205 Live instead of Raw. I mean, that, with how many promos were on Raw, I feel like they could have maybe cut down the promos by maybe 2 or 3 minutes each, and I don't know, maybe had the Cruiserweight match on Raw. But Cruiserweight title, may as well be the title that no one cares about, because that's what it's being treated like. But in terms of just in general, we had a promo from Titus and Neville. We had a promo from Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks. We had a promo from Roman Reigns and John Cena and The Miz and then Samoa Joe. We had a promo from, we had a promo from Kurt Angle and Jason Jordan. And then we had the Emma, Nia Jax, Dana Brooke promo. Very promo heavy show. And the match between Emma and Nia Jax, which I don't even think was mentioned here, but it was very short, very succinct. It was, they just dropped, she just dropped Emma with a Samoan drop for a 3 count. They didn't even get to the point where she did that little Hogan leg drop thing. So, in all honesty, the match lasted less than 5 minutes. So, it is more than likely time for that division to see some sort of a shakeup. I think that it's time to move people up from the women's division after the Mae Young Classic. I think the Mae Young Classic, technically, it's all over, but it is yet to be seen by the public. Now, there's spoilers all over the internet. I'm trying to avoid spoilers because I just want to see it when it's actually released. So, because nothing's really going to be done with those wrestlers until after the Mae Young Classic anyway. So what's the point in looking up spoilers? It just, in my opinion, especially the Raw women, so much is done with this. There's a lack of talent on SmackDown and just a misuse of talent on Raw. They've got talent on Raw. They just don't know how to use it. They do not have talent on SmackDown, and they use everyone because that's all they have to use. So, as far as usage of the women go, I got to give it to SmackDown. As far as talent overall goes, you got to give that to Raw. Even with Charlotte being on SmackDown, you got to give that to Raw. But I just feel like the Mae Young Classic is going to put more women into both divisions and give us a fresh look at the women and the women's division and what they can do. In terms of the Intercontinental title, because they did mention that Miz did not defend it on Raw, I really feel like, well, if he didn't defend it on Raw, why the hell didn't he, or if he didn't defend it at SummerSlam, why the hell didn't he defend it on Raw? You had a chance to, and you didn't have him defend it there either. Which means it's been going to be over 30 days since he's defended that title. Back in the old days, you go 30 days without defending any title, you got stripped of it. But, obviously that didn't matter. So, it really, to me, these mid-card divisions, the US and the IC divisions, need to be rebuilt and redconned from the ground up. You need mid-card people. Like on Raw, Elias is a mid-carder, and he's got major traction right now with his gimmick. And he looks like he knows how to fucking wrestle. R-Truth, probably bottom of the barrel, but you could at least use him. Definitely Jason Jordan. He will eventually, if they do not screw him, he will make it there. Finn Balor, until all these big bastards are not in in the league of the Universal title. I think Finn Balor's place is in the Intercontinental title division. And that's not an insult. Look at Chris Jericho. He's done it all. He just had to wait for the right time to do it. And I think Balor needs to look at it like that. Honestly, right there, that's 4 people. I am sure there are more. As far as SmackDown and the U.S. title, I don't mind Kevin Owens being in that division. He, in my opinion, is most definitely not WWE title worthy yet. I would say if you were to put him in that class, he'd be at the bottom, sort of the way like Bray Wyatt is at the bottom of the Universal title class, though I would put him in the IC title class in somewhere. He'd be above R-Truth, that's for damn sure. I would definitely put Rusev in that U.S. title class, because he's held that belt several times and done a damn good job with it. I'd put Sami Zayn in there, because he's definitely a great person to have in that title class. I would put, Ty Dillinger, where the hell has he been? But he's another great person to put in that title class. I mean, there are so many people on SmackDown that would make for great mid-carders. And the problem is that with SmackDown being the wrestling show, I don't think they know here from there between upper card and lower card. I mean, Raw's pretty easy. SmackDown, there's a lot of shades of gray. So I feel like there's just a juncture that they need to get past. There's a hump that they need to get past, and they need to rebuild from the bottom up with their creative, in terms of the way they look at how they give out title shots and who they give them to and who they decide to build up and who they're leaving off the card. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't give a damn about Eric Rowan. Eric Rowan is the past. And, I don't care if you're wearing a sheep mask with it that looks like a gas mask. Whoop-de-friggin-do. Show me some damn talent. At least Luke Harper has talent. That's another guy that could be a U.S. title guy. That's a guy that's actually been in a WWE title match. He didn't win, but he's actually been in one. But, yeah, I think that it comes to the fact that you need to push the right people. And I guess my biggest beef with tonight was Finn Balor and Jason Jordan. You cannot have people steamrolling. Well, I wouldn't say that Finn Balor steamrolled Jason Jordan. I think Jason Jordan certainly showed his strength against Finn Balor. But you can't be having guys job out for other guys when you're trying to build them up. I mean, at this point, what is Finn Balor really doing? What is he really doing? He's not going after the Universal title. Obviously, the whole I'm going to get my title back thing is done for the moment anyway. So, and they've already stated what next month's freaking Universal title match is. So, Finn is pretty much dead on arrival. While in the meantime, people are going to demand an Intercontinental title match at No Mercy. And I don't know. Maybe this is leading to a triple threat for the IC title. Maybe not. But I'm hoping that Jason Jordan gets a shot at that at No Mercy. Because if he doesn't, then this whole storyline is just a waste of time. It really is. Because you can't drag this out and drag this out and drag this out. And because if you do, people are going to get bored with it. And also, if you drag it out with a bunch of losses for Jason Jordan, people are really going to get bored with it. And it's going to become just stupid. But at the same time, I after talking with my brother and my friend, they also said that you can't just hand him something like a win over Finn Balor without cause. But in my defense, I think you have cause. Because this guy is already a great wrestler. He's already held gold in NXT and WWE. And you're fighting a guy who held gold in NXT and WWE. Granted, Jason Jordan never held the WWE title singles-wise on SmackDown, but Finn Balor held the Universal on Raw. But regardless, there were no titles to be on the line. Finn Balor could have easily taken a loss and had it not affect him, but a loss at this juncture for Jason Jordan does sort of halt his forward progression. Anyway, before I go, I do want to say that Hardy's versus Seth and Dean was a great match. I think that this match was... if you haven't seen it yet, I'm sure you'll find it online. I'm sure you'll be able to find it on WWE Network or on Hulu or what have you. But you should watch it. It was a great match. It was generation versus generation. And that's the way they made it feel. And I'm glad. So, anyway, that's all I've really got to say for Raw tonight. This was not an A+ show by any means. As I said, this was really, really freaking heavy on the promos. And I don't like promo-heavy shows. Promo-heavy shows are boring. Promo-heavy shows are where I get up and take a piss because all anyone is doing is talking. And there are very few matches. And then when you have commercials through half your matches, it makes it even worse. So for a post-pay-per-view Raw that is right after one of your big four, this was maybe a C-. Maybe a C-. And that's just being kind. If I was going to be realistic, I'd say D+. Because there were maybe 2 matches on this entire card that I gave 2 shits about. And that were the tag team matches. Because Finn Balor versus Jason Jordan, I'm going to be honest, I'm like, well, I hope Jason wins, but I have a feeling they're just going to hand this to Finn because he's Finn. And that's exactly what happened. And, I knew what was going to happen. As soon as Braun hit the ring, they were going to have some sort of title match. With Brock being there that night, being there tonight, it obviously says that no, he's not going to hold the title in Purgatory. He is defending it officially. It was announced at No Mercy versus Braun Strowman. Most likely, he is getting the match he would have gotten at Great Balls of Fire. I feel now that he deserves it more than he would have back in July. So it actually makes more sense. So some of the booking decisions made sense as far as future booking decisions. But as far as tonight goes, again, and I got to give it another thumbs down. Just wow. Come on. Give me something to work with here, WWE, because you're not giving me much to work with here. So, I'm Gary Maloney, and this is Sacktown Slam for your Monday night, for Monday Night Raw. And hopefully I will see you tomorrow for my SmackDown review. I am out.